Hey, it's Kyle here, and today I'll be reviewing Dune by Frank Herbert. As I'm sure most people are aware, a new movie is coming out based on the book Dune. As not surprisingly, the movie is entitled Dune. So I've read Dune before. Read it probably, I guess, 12, 15 years ago. Absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorite sci-fi books of all time. And I'd always meant to get around to rereading it because it had been so long since I've read it. And so the new movie coming out gave me the inspiration to do that because I decided I really wanted to reread the book before I watched the new movie. And I'm really glad that I did because I know sometimes when I've read books after it's been a huge gap, I won't quite enjoy it as much, but I really enjoyed Dune as much on the second read as I did in the first. In some ways I enjoyed aspects of even more this time. Dune by Frank Herbert is one of the most influential works in sci-fi that's ever been written. So first I'll say, if you're a big sci-fi fan and you've never read Dune, I think you owe yourself to read this book. And the later books in the series you know, but the book kind of works as a standalone, so you don't have to read the series if you don't want to. But I'd strongly encourage Dune. I actually read the series and I really enjoyed it. But if you just want to read it as a standalone, I think you should, because like I said, this is such an important work in science fiction that I think if you're a sci-fi fan, this is one of those books you need to read. The elements of Dune that I really enjoy so much is the world building. Frank Herbert does an amazing job with the world building in it. I'll touch a little bit more once I get into a little bit of the plot. The character development in Dune is amazing. One thing I forgot in the years since I read the book was some of the main characters that you really grow to love. You actually forget how little in the book they actually are. The action doctrine, a lot of books characters you think like, oh, that character was there in the majority of the storyline. I was like, oh, that character was only in the book, maybe 20 or 30 pages in a 500-page book, but you felt like you grew so attached to that character, like, oh, they had to be there all the time. But no, Frank Herbert does such a great job of making you care about a character just in a few pages that in your memory, they become a bigger part of the story than they actually were. The action of the book is great. The battle scenes, the fighting, the political intrigue, all that type of stuff, really enjoyed it. My background in college, my degree's in political science, and there's a lot of political science elements in Dune that I really enjoy a lot. One thing I was thinking of as I was rereading the book, I was like, this reminds me a lot of the Game of Thrones series, both the books and the TV show. I hadn't read any of Game of Thrones when I read Dune for the first time, so I didn't really make that connection back then. And of course, Dune predates Game of Thrones by a lot. But the one thing I was thinking is like, I bet a lot of people that maybe normally don't read science fiction but really love the Game of Thrones, if they read Dune, they would really love Dune, because there's a lot of very similar elements in the book. You have these noble houses fighting for power, a lot of intrigue, backstabbing, war, all those elements I think people enjoy in Game of Thrones. The great characters, the great bad guys that you love to root against, and the great characters, the heroes that you absolutely adore and you hope will prevail. Dune has all that. So I'll say, like, if you're normally not a sci-fi person but you enjoyed Game of Thrones, give Dune a try. Even the main houses on Dune, the main characters are from House Atreides, and I would say they're very similar to House Stark. The main villains are House Harkonnen, very similar to the Lannisters. So I think that's a connection that I was not even aware that existed. I'm not sure if George R. R. Martin got any inspiration from Dune at all for his works, but to me they just felt very similar. By no means am I saying George R. R. Martin ripped off Dune, and there's a lot of other stuff that kind of deals with this struggle between noble houses for control and stuff, but it just reminded me a lot of each other. So I think if you enjoyed Game of Thrones, you should give Dune a try. So that being said, I'll touch a little bit on the plot. I don't really go and get into too much details because I don't want to spoil it in case you've never read the book, or more likely if you haven't seen the new movie yet and you want to go see the movie kind of blind and not know any spoilers. And plus, I don't really know how faithful the new movie's going to be to the book, but I'll give you a basic overview. So Dune is set in kind of a galactic empire that's very much ruled in regard to like a kind of like again, think Game of Thrones. You know, you have an imperial family or a king like in Game of Thrones, and you have all these noble houses beneath it. In this case, the noble houses control planets instead of just like territories of a country. House Atreides and House Harkonnen are kind of like two rivals, and they're kind of struggling each other. And House Atreides is being given a planet that House Harkonnen had ruled by the Emperor, but House Atreides' leader, Duke Leto, smells a trap. And that's basically where the book starts, where he's going to this new planet with his entire army and his family, knowing there's a chance this could be a trap and trying to figure out how to beat the trap. He doesn't actually have a wife. He has a concubine, but basically is his wife, Jessica, and their son, Paul. And this family is the main focus of the book. And like I said, this is kind of like the Starks. If you're into Game of Thrones, very much like the Stark. A lot of the book is told through Paul's eyes. Paul is such a fascinating character. And then you have House Harkonnen, which is absolutely evil. That is everything opposite that House Atreides is. And they are trying to spring a trap. And you're going to see like, oh, which side wins. And it's fascinating to see how this power struggle plays out. But it's such a great work of science fiction that it's one of those few pieces of science fiction that say that almost transcends the genre. That even if you're not into sci-fi, this is just such an important work of literature. You owe it yourself to read it. If you love to read Dune. It is an amazing work of literature by Frank Herbert. One of my favorite books of all time. I can't recommend it enough. I hope you'll check it out. The new movie looks awesome. I'm very excited for it, so I strongly encourage you to check that movie out as well because it looks amazing. It has an amazing cast. The trailer is one of the best trailers I've seen in years, so it got me really psyched to see the movie. So I'm very interested to see how the movie compares to the book. I think they'll have to make some changes because the plot of Dune is very intricate, and I think if you tried to include everything in the book into a movie, it would just, I don't know if it really work on the screen. So I think you have to make some changes to make it work better on a movie versus a book. But I'm really a big fan of the director. The cast is amazing, so I think they're going to do an amazing job with it. I'm super excited. Who knows, maybe it'll suck and I'll have to retract this opinion later, but for now I'm super excited to see the new movie. And like I said, check out the book. It's an awesome book, Dune by Frank Herbert. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. I really appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the support. Again, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time, and happy reading.